What's going on, everybody? I'm Jason.
I'm Steffen.
This is Tennessee Mountain Homestead. In today's video, we're going to be doing an update about the storm damage we received a couple nights ago. First and foremost, I'd like to say thank you for everybody who sent wishes and prayers our way. Greatly appreciated. Second, nobody in our family was hurt at all during this whole thing, and there was a lot going on that night. The creek flooded multiple times. There was high winds around here. There was tornadoes in the area. There was lightning. It was just all of it. It was all a mess. But anyways, besides that, we're gonna do an update on the damages that happened around here. We're gonna start at the back of the property, at the barn, and work our way forward, and we're just gonna touch on every little thing that's happened out here as a cause of that storm. All right, we're gonna start back here at the northeast corner of the property. Now this is what we call the barn hill, because it goes up right there to the street, and that's our back gate. Well, here's the creek. This is the spring-fed creek right here to my left. And a dry bed creek comes from the neighbor's house down through his property and up one side of the road. And there's a spring-fed creek, which is this one, that comes out from under that. You see that tunnel over there in the background. There's a spring-fed creek about 100 yards past that tunnel, which feeds our creek 24/7. When it rains hard like it did, channels of water, of dry creek beds and active creek beds converge literally right here behind our barn on the corner of our property and creates a huge amount of water. And so that brings me to my next point here, is all that water converges here, and it can't go around the corner or follow the bend of the creek. It's just too much. So what happens is it came over, there was a berm here not that long ago. There was big rocks and boulders here. Those things are gone. It washed all that stuff away downstream, and a lot of it ended up in our barnyard and just all over the place. So this is the first thing that happened, was this berm got erased. And now basically the creek bed is almost level with the land that I'm standing on here. I'm just about a foot or two above the creek. So moving on in the future, I don't know what we can do about that at all here, short of building a solid precast concrete wall to block that from happening. But I don't know if that's worth it or if that's even something I can handle. All right, next up, moving on from the rocks that are gone and all these boulders and everything, is the barn itself. Now all that water came straight through the back of the barn. As you can see, there are doors here that we don't ever use. I actually have these doors screwed shut because we don't need to drive through the barn and come out the back here. But you can see the water, the tree limbs, the stuff, all the debris. There's some metal siding on this barn that was here before. That's literally got debris because water was just pouring through anywhere it could. It caved these doors inwards and pushed a massive amount of mud and rock and everything else just right through the barn. And it washed everything that was in there on the floor completely out. And in some cases, some of that stuff's gone. It went down the creek, who knows where it is. And some of it's in our barnyard. So, moving forward, my first thoughts was to just tear this thing down so we ain't gotta worry about it, right? And then I collected, I cooled off, and I think I have solutions. We're gonna reinforce the back of the barn and essentially make it so that water cannot flow through it, and water will have to flow around it. So let me know if you guys have any other ideas what we can do with this besides tear it down. And let's move on. So this is also alongside the barn. I just recently, in the past few months, you couldn't walk through here 6 months ago. It was all built up, there was big rocks and everything here. And I took the Kubota and I cleared a trail all the way through And all that dirt and all that rock that I picked up with the bucket, I dumped here on the side. And there was a berm of rock and dirt here, which you see is now leveled. This is what's left. Well, that's a tree root, but there's just debris here now and all this river rock. So yeah, now you could basically drive a vehicle through here once we smooth this out. It's wide open now, and I don't think I'm gonna try to put a berm back. Let's go this way. So as I was saying back there, if you take a look on this side, you know, we got some lights. But all this stuff was not here, obviously. We don't treat our stuff like this. All this ladders and all this wood and all the stuff that's in there that's collapsed and fallen over, all that because of how much water came through here. And I don't care about all this stuff. Some of it is just material that's been collected over the years from random job sites that I brought stuff home that was extra. And wood shelving, concrete forms, concrete blocks, T-posts for the garden. I mean, all stuff that's pretty much not gonna get destroyed by water, but it's in here and now we gotta clean all this up. The only thing that was kind of detrimental was I had the 4 parts tractors in the back. We'll go take a look at those in a second. There's 3 or 4, I forget how many, John Deere 200 series back in there. And this side was the deepest side because everything goes downhill towards the creek. But there was probably, I don't know, what do you think, Steffen? 2 foot, 3 foot?
What, 2.5 foot there?
Probably 2.5 or 3 foot of water that was just coming through here like a deluge. It was pretty bad. You couldn't even walk over here when it was happening. I would have gotten film footage, but it was probably got swept away with everything else. So yeah, the parts tractors are the only thing that I was worried about. As soon as this video is done, we're going to immediately start yanking everything out of the barn to take an assessment more. And the barn is going to be one of the first things we're going to try to piece back together and reinforce so this kind of stuff can't happen in the future. All right, moving on to the other side of the barn, same deal. This side has a lot less water coming through it just because of the angle of the land. It's definitely not as deep as it was on that side, but still it was deep enough, right? A tractor, Jace's brand new, well, his new to him, the Murray tractor and a go-kart were in here that night, and both of them got pushed out by the current. That's how much water was flowing through here. So we have a couple of rooms that are in here. This actually was used as a barn at some point for animals. So there's a stall in here. All that stuff got pushed up against the front wall. And one thing to mention is that every time a flood comes through this place, the water pushes dirt and silt in here from the creek and from wherever. And it literally builds up in mounds. It's crazy. Like in the center here, this is like 10 inches of dirt higher. And in some places it's like a mound. You'll see in the back. But let's go take a look at those parts tractors. Our log splitter was in here. The motor has evidence of being submerged. So there was definitely water traveling over the motor on this. Hopefully it didn't get too much in the carburetor. We haven't even checked that out yet. We got a tiller in here, a walk-behind tiller. More stuff that just was in here that fell down. It was stacked up nice. But coming through here in the back is what I was talking about with the built-up dirt. Like right here, there's I'm standing on a big mound now of dirt. I don't even know how we're gonna clean this out. We're gonna have to shovel it, or if I can get the Kubota in here with the bucket, maybe I can take some bucket loads out. But yeah, this is what happens. And then those park tractors are right here. Oh man. Holy cow, look at this. So, as you can see, this one is doing a nosedive, and there is a ton, looks like a beaver dam in here. A ton of stuff. This stuff is all accumulated on the top of this tractor. It was not like this before. And the 216, this is the one that I thought about maybe restoring. I don't know. And there's the 214 over there. And as you can see, it is just, it's gonna take some work to get this stuff uncovered and get all this debris out of here. Most of it's just dead tree material, sticks and stumps and limbs. And you can see the back doors washed in. And also that back leg, the back pole on this barn is rotten and it's busted. It looks like it's separated off what used to be going into the ground. And it looks like the whole back corner of the barn has dropped down significantly. Looks like inches. So we're gonna have to figure that out. We're gonna have to somehow jack that back up and re-support it. But I think that's gonna be it for the barn. It's pretty self-explanatory. A ton of water came through here, and that's what we gotta deal with. So just an idea of how much water was coming through here. I know it's hard to, I keep talking about that, but check it. This is a cage of some sort, and it is jammed up against the back of the log splitter. And all this is stuff that washed up against it and was creating resistance. And the back of the cage looks like it's pushed in. And it's literally, I can't even budge this thing. I can't pull it out of here. We're gonna have to hook it up to a tractor and pull the log splitter out off of it, and then, but that's how high the water level was, at least right there. So that's at least 2 feet in here, if not higher. And what about the wood room? Some kind of carpet in here. So we can't open the door all the way because it's jammed up on something, but it didn't get too bad inside here. But this is where we keep all our random wood scraps and boards and planks and things. Take a look in there if you want. Yep. Is there? All right, so that's it for the damage report on the barn. Now moving into the barnyard. Some of you guys recall a couple weekends ago, we tilled this whole thing up with the tractor, and we didn't know what was gonna happen, obviously, but when that water came through here, all that loosened up soil went downstream, and now we're missing a bunch of soil out of the barnyard. On top of that, all the river rock, and I think I mentioned in that video, I talked about a flood from a few years ago, similar to this one, washing a bunch of rock up in here. Well, it happened, not as bad, but it happened again. You can see all these boulders, all these big rocks, and the stream of river rock that's just strewn across the barnyard again. So we're gonna have to start scooping that out of here and slowly removing it again. We'll just till it up again. Might have to call a couple truckloads of soil, topsoil in here, I don't know. But the barnyard is what it is now, and all the random objects that you see strewn across here are stuff that came washed out of the barn. It's unfortunate the barnyard got tore up like it did, but we made the best of it. I'm gonna drop some clips real quick of us ripping this place up on mud mowers. That was definitely a good time. The most mud I think any of us have ever driven through on these machines. The next thing we're going to talk about is the house, which the creek did not affect the house. The water came up to about right here where I'm standing, and it was right about here where Ethan is, where I'm at. It was probably about 2/3 of the way up to my knees here in this spot. So it was a couple feet down there, but the house never got water from the creek, but the house did get water intrusion. And I'll show you guys a little bit of why that is. Because the house was built into the foot of this hill, or I guess you could say mountain right here. So the house in the back is basically underground. And if you follow me, you can see it starts going uphill here, and the house is built into the ground. So back here, we're behind the house. As you can see, that's the roof, the back of the house here. And it is underground. So I guess when enough rain comes down at once, it goes up against the back of the house, runs down behind through the dirt against the wall, and we had water intrusion coming in the living room. Underneath the wall, you could see it coming out. And it wasn't a major flood or anything. I guess it became about 1/4 of an inch of water, and it caused us to have to rip the floors up and stuff, the planks, the vinyl flooring we had. And so we're taking up the floor now because water came in from behind that wall somehow, flooded all this and into that room, and we're currently shop vacuuming everything up. Oh, there goes Sydney. She just got her learner's permit today. And this is how we're celebrating. And I actually started a project back here a few years ago after we moved in. These tarps are here to help prevent any kind of saturation of the ground, but they're not a total fail-safe. So I started pouring concrete on the other side of the house, working this way. And eventually, and we're gonna get right back into this soon, we're gonna have essentially a sidewalk of concrete from one side to the other here, and then behind the sidewalk, it's gonna angle down away from the house, those concrete slabs. And then we're gonna have a French drain, and it's gonna drain down both sides, so any water that comes down is gonna collect in that French drain and go around the house, not behind it. All right, so we're back over here at the other end of the house, and this here is the last slab that I had poured, and there's a staircase that you can see that goes down, and I built this retaining wall. This is 7 inches thick of solid concrete. Everything here is reinforced. All these slabs are 10, 12 inches thick with rebar, and they come off the back of the house, which is concrete block, and they pitch down away from the house. And as you can see, I built a series of slabs and made them into kind of a staircase with this retaining wall here. And since I've done this, I've had zero problems with any kind of water coming in the pantry, in places like that. Our bedrooms right back here, our master bedroom, zero water comes in here. Now moving back over this way, there's a concrete slab right here in the center that I poured. And that one was because there used to be a window unit, air conditioner, a pretty large one, that was right back there between the eave of the house and the ground, and it was in an enclosure. Now I took that out, and there was somebody had cut a big hole in the wall to put that there. It wasn't there when this house was built. And so the last time we had a giant flood like this, I thought that water came in around that AC unit that was here. And it could have, but it happened again the same way, and that hole has been long since plugged. And there's actually, that concrete slab is like the center point between that slab and the end of the house. And I have plans like I said, to put concrete all the way across the whole back of the house, and then about where I'm standing will be a French drain. So, like I said, these tarps are just temporary to mitigate any kind of moisture. So when it rains lightly normally, we never have any issues. It takes something like this to actually get in the house. So that's gonna conclude the back of the house. Let's move on. All right, so now we're around the front of the house, between the shop and the house, and this place is an absolute mess. But as you can see, there's a trailer here that Steffen brought over here the other day while the flood was actually happening. And the water was coming in the back of the house, and all that on the trailer, well, most of it is the flooring that we pulled up and then we threw out because it was just gonna end up not being good. So that flooring's done. Temporarily inside the house, we got concrete floors. So besides that, moving in to the shop did not sustain any damage per se, but there was so much water hitting the back of the shop, coming through here, and you'll see the clips cut in. But water does come under the wall in the back of the shop where the corrugated metal comes down, and the water can get up under the wall and it creeps in. So what happened was, all that water that comes in here and comes everywhere around here is diluted with fine silt, clay, I don't know what you call it, but it sticks to everything, and once it dries, it leaves a film. So the whole entire floor of the shop, especially in the back where the water pooled up, where the slab's not perfectly level, there's a layer of fine silt now, and it's dry. And it happened a few years ago, and we basically have to take everything out of here and use flathead shovels and scrape. You can't sweep it up. So we have that against us coming up. We have to clean the shop out. But no damage here. And the only other thing that happened was the pump house. Let's walk over there. So back over here is the pump house, and we just did an extensive video about bringing this thing back online yesterday. Link in the description. But real quick, if you didn't see that, the pump house got submerged. Well, not completely, but enough that it came over the threshold of that door. And we also found out that water can travel in and out of our storage tank that's underneath this thing, because there's a space between the storage tank and the slab that water can just easily move in and out of. So we got to seal that up, but otherwise the pump house did not receive any real damage. It just got flooded, completely filled with mud, and we had to clean all that out yesterday and then redo where it pulls water out of the creek. So other than that, we just have a lot of stuff to clean up. And it's real easy to get down on stuff like this, especially when it was happening. I was like distraught. I was stressed out just watching that amount of water come through here and washing all your stuff away, all your hard work, all your belongings, just washing downstream, right? It was very, it hurt. It hurt. That's a good word. But I'm optimistic. I think that it's gonna just give us an opportunity to build this place back up stronger than it was before. We know our weak points, and we know how to mitigate this stuff from happening in the future. It's all lessons learned, you know, positive, half glass full kind of person, you know what I mean? That's the way to be, and that's the way I think everyone else should be too. All right, y'all, that's gonna do it for today's video. I just wanted to document and showcase what we went through here, what happened, and moving on in the future, what we're gonna be doing. Like I said, we're gonna jump right into fixing the barn up because we need the barn to store our things in order to have room in other places. We got plans. We're gonna fix up the 2-car garage. We're gonna do a ton of stuff. There's a ton of stuff coming up out here. We got builds, we got go-karts, we got mini bikes, we got more tractors coming. We got everything, it's great. Life is good. But check this out, one more thing. This piece of steel is not from this property. That's just to show how much massive amount of force came through here. But with all that being said, my name's Jason.
I'm Steffen.
This is Tennessee Mountain Homestead Channel, and we'll see you on the next one.